Hey everybody, welcome to the Fox Den. Again, we are here with no Mama D tonight, but hopefully she'll be back home again soon. I just have a quick couple things I want to put out here first. Okay, now this right here, if you hit that, you can go directly to our Pennhurst Paracon, so Pennhurst Asylum page, okay, where you can buy tickets for the event, which is coming up very quickly. This is a lot of our current celebrity list. Of course, we always add more, but it's really probably a good thing to get your tickets now, as you know they do sell out quickly. So we have a lot of great celebrity things. We're doing a lot of different things this year by adding more people that are not celebrity. We're giving 10 people the opportunity to present what they do in the metaphysical and paranormal community. So what you need to do is you got to message me or Bob Christopher, okay? Your headshot, your bio, what it is you do for the paranormal and the metaphysical community, and what you would do in a 20-minute workshop, okay? So that's that. Now, I want to get to our guest tonight because let me tell you, this is a hard man to pin down. Okay, he's very, very busy man. And this is his bio. Tonight we have Jeff Belanger. He is an author, podcaster, storyteller, adventurer, and explorer of the unexplained. He has written more than a dozen books and that have been published in 6 languages. He's the Emmy-nominated host, writer, and producer of the New England Legends series on PBS and on Amazon Prime. He provides programs and lectures to audiences all over the world, and he's been the writer and researcher for every episode of Ghost Adventurers on the Discovery Network. Jeff has made media appearances on hundreds of radio and television programs over his 25-year career, and he has a passion for mysteries and legends. And here he is, the man, the myth, and the legend himself. Welcome,
Hey, Gina.
Jeff. How are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm very good, except for my voice. But, other than that, I don't feel bad. It's just I lose my voice when I'm very busy, and I
get it.
don't take the time to hydrate properly. So I apologize.
No worries. No worries.
Okay. No worries. You know what I met you was, oh my God, I think it was 2010, 2011 in Salem. You were doing one of your it was in like a little theater, and you had a presentation. I believe it was the Bridgewater Triangle, and it was so fascinating. I loved it. I loved your energy about it and everything. I'm like, this guy's so weird. He's great. but that brings me to what you do here. Wicked Strange is an amazing book. Okay, and also I have to say that I don't know if you guys can actually see how absolutely beautiful this book is. The pages and everything, it is beautiful. From a designer standpoint, it's a great coffee table book as well too. Something that you can keep out all the time. But New England is my hometown. So
where are you from, Gina?
I am from Mass Lake, right all around Worcester.
Worcester, kid.
Yes.
All right.
So West Boylston, Auburn, Oxford. I've been out in Holyoke. I lived out there. So,
I know
all
them
around.
all.
Yeah, I know you do. Like a lot of these places that you have here, I have gone to.
Yeah, cool.
So the book is a compilation of all the states. And you even put when they were born, when the states were born. I was like, that's so cool. Connecticut is born on my birthday. Not that I was.
Well, happy birthday to you and Connecticut. So that was the idea, right? Is that we had to come up with some sort of fair order, So we went by birth. Whatever state was incorporated first got to be first, which was Connecticut. And then one of the challenges was, to be fair, I didn't want anyone from Maine to say, oh, it's a Massachusetts book, or anyone from Rhode Island to say, oh, it's a Connecticut book. So we wanted to have good representation of all the weirdness. And there's plenty, you live here.
Oh my God. I know.
So much. So
I know. I'm going,
yeah,
oh, you have all of these things, but you don't have this and this and this, like spider gates and,
sure. The
things
gates
like
are
that.
gone, by the way.
Oh no.
They took them down,
Oh no. When
as
did
if
they
that
take
would
off?
stop anything.
I know, right? That's so funny. That was like the biggest thing. We had to go to Purgatory Chasm to go
Yeah.
swimming and Spider Gates to just hang out,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
do all the
Purgatory. Yeah, Purgatory is not far. It's there's the Devil's Coffin, right?
mm,
And the Devil's Corn Crib. And
right.
yeah, for those who don't know, Purgatory Chasm is it's like a split in the earth that was caused when a giant glacier moved through many years ago and sort of like wedged in and split the rocks. And it's a really cool place that's wildly popular in the summer. People
Yep.
hike all through it with their kids and everything else. And but it's got some mysteries to it as well, right? Because it's got literally signs that say, like, this is the Devil's Corn Crib and this is the Devil's Coffin and things like that. And it's called Purgatory, which sounds like something very Catholic, but in reality, it's a name for a rock formation. But I love how in New England you know we're modern folks. However, those puritanical roots and superstitions run very deep.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
in our DNA, and we can't just shake them off that easily. So the devil, we've named so many places after the devil. Like, I mean, you'd swear he was governor or something.
I went on vacation last year. We went to the Outer Banks, and how I picked it, Kill Devil Hills.
Yeah,
I
there you
said, I
go.
gotta go there. I gotta go there.
Yeah, yeah,
Nice.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's funny how, and I thought about that. Like, we have so many devil stories, devil places, devil locations, Satan's footprints and stuff like that. And I think for the Puritans, the devil was not a metaphor, right? The devil was something quite literal. And
Right.
so by giving him his due, by naming locations after him, you keep him on the minds of the populace, right? You let people know, he's nearby. We've literally named rock formations and things like that after him.
Yep. Honest to God, it's insane. Like in Salem, of course, Salem is just insane, with all the witch stuff and everything. And, so it just kind of stems everywhere. I mean, it's no matter where you go, there is some kind of urban legend, myth, or folklore, like everywhere. It doesn't even matter. Now, I know that I'm going to veer off of this book again, but this one, I
Sure.
love this. All right. But the Bridgewater Triangle, all right, that is a massive area.
Hmm.
However, I think it goes a lot further than the
Oh yeah,
parameters. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So it's like, it's a cool name and stuff. So how did you come up with that?
Well, so in the 1980s, Lauren Coleman wrote a book called Mysterious America. At the time, his son was going to college in that area. So he was in it quite a bit. And he started just sort of chronicling various weird stories. And he found that this region, it's about 220 square miles. For those who don't know, it's like south of Boston, and it's from Bridgewater in the north with like the Hockomock Swamp down to Rehoboth, like just north of Fall River where Lizzie Borden is, and over to Freetown and back up. 220 square miles. And he found like UFO sightings and cult murders and Bigfoot sightings and ghosts and just all this strangeness. Those of us that have studied the Bridgewater Triangle since, it's pretty well understood. You could probably double the size. You could probably go all the way up to Plymouth. You could go into Rhode
Absolutely.
Island. You could go into parts of Connecticut. I mean,
100%.
but you got to draw a line somewhere, right? And
Right.
yeah, and I've talked to Lauren about it. He frankly said he called it the Bridgewater Triangle because the Bermuda Triangle was pretty hot back in the 80s. So he's like, well, we've got one here on a smaller scale. And the thing is, once you sort of identify a thing, it becomes a thing. Forgive me for not using
Right.
better words, but like if I
Oh,
tell
it's true.
you that building's cursed, if you look at it, then you look at it and you go, "Oh no, what if it's true?" Right? And then it's so this area about the Bridgewater Triangle. What makes it really interesting to me, though, is that historically speaking, uh, that was the epicenter of the King Philip's War, which is a war that nobody in America knows about, except maybe some of us in Eastern Massachusetts, a little bit Rhode Island, a little bit of Connecticut, and whatever. It's the America's Forgotten War. It was the bloodiest war per capita in the history of the United States or England to this day, right?
Wow.
So uh, the largest percentage of population died in that war, and this is the 1660s, right? So you've got upwards of 75 or 80% of the native population were wiped out, and upwards of 20% of the colonial population. There's never been a war that we've been involved in that took out that percentage of people. And so I believe that war is sort of like the underlying stain underneath underneath the Bridgewater Triangle. It's this stain that can't be washed away. And I don't know. I think sometimes events haunt us, and what they're looking for is some kind of acknowledgement, right? It's an old trope in the paranormal, right? Like just say the
Yeah,
name and it's released in some way, right? So for me, that's the underlying factor of the Bridgewater Triangle.
that's amazing. That is amazing. I gotta know, as a child, okay, are you an only child?
No, I've got a sister, and she's a PhD, but she can't help you if you're sick unless
Okay.
she's a
Okay.
psychologist.
Hi, Kimberly. Hey, Jeff.
Hello.
Yeah, because I was like wondering, like, what were you like as a child? I can picture you either out with your what do you call them?
Magnifying glass.
Magnifying glass. Yeah, out grabbing all the clues and you know, adventure kid. Or were you like a book kid? Or I mean,
No,
what sparked everything in you?
Yeah, I guess I was a bit of a jack of all trades. So I mostly grew up in Sandy Hook, Connecticut, and in
Oh,
that area, we had a lot of historic homes. Our Main Street in Newtown was just, I had a buddy that lived in one of the houses, and he said, "Oh yeah, it's haunted. Like every house on Main Street's haunted." Of course, the town next to us was Monroe, and that's where Ed and Lorraine Warren lived. So I knew them since I was 13 years old.
yeah,
And so growing up with the Warrens, but keep in mind, like they are so much more famous today than they ever were back in the 80s,
right. Well,
because of the
it's
movies.
social media,
Yeah, the movies made them
and the
superstars.
movies. Well, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, the
but
Conjuring movies
before
made them
that,
blow up. But back
of
then, in October, I'd go see them speak at libraries and stuff like that, and I've been to their house several times, and I just remember thinking like, this is kind of amazing. And so I actually had I had a business card that said supernatural investigator, and it had my phone number on it. And I made it with a typewriter just to show my age. We had an actual typewriter, and I printed it on a little card, and I cut it, and it's about the size of a business card. And the funny thing is, the only people I gave the card to were my buddies who already knew my phone number anyway. They really didn't need it. But I felt pretty cool having supernatural investigator on a card when I was 12 years old.
well, who
And
wouldn't?
and so yeah, and so like we'd have sleepovers at some of these haunted houses, would break out the Ouija board, would try to make contact, and I thought it was really interesting to me because even though I didn't see a ghost back then, not yet, I didn't think my friends were lying to me. I thought and it didn't sound like a Hollywood movie. It was just like, yeah, some old guy's here too. We see him from time to time. That's it. He doesn't hurt anybody. It's just, it just is what it is. And I thought that's pretty amazing. So I was intrigued. I was raised Catholic in the interest of full disclosure. And so Catholicism, there's a whole spectrum of belief in there. And so also my
Hey,
parents
Father,
didn't
Son,
really.
Holy Ghost.
Well, right. Well, there's also like God and the devil and angels and demons
Yeah,
and
yeah.
saints and sinners and purgatory, whatever that is, right? And so, and we're back, purgatory chasm again. So here we are. Purgatory is just sort of made up, right? You can get upgraded.
Yeah.
Um, so we, my parents didn't poo-poo the idea either. Like we talked about UFOs, we talked about ghosts, and I guess I just sort of fell into a love of this stuff. But I also love history, and I love learning about the past and finding out how we sort of connect to it. So as a kid, I was into all that stuff, but I was also into soccer and music, and I play guitar, and there's a performer in me as well.
Awesome. I remember as a kid, I would go, flying home from school so I could watch Dark Shadows,
Yeah.
show my age, right? So
Yeah.
I think I'm older than you. But anyway, like I loved all that stuff and, our friends and everything. Yeah, we did all the Ouija board stuff and all that too. We had our local haunts. I did actually see spirits when I was younger. Like my grandfather appeared to me, my grandmother
Wow.
appeared to me, but I saw one on a street where everyone said this house was haunted, but it was empty. And I was like, yeah, come on, it is not. And I was walking down the street because we were going down to P Street where everybody partied. And that's where the house was. And I look up at the door and like you can see in the window and there's a lady standing there. I'm like, okay,
Empty house.
empty house. And I'm like, so that moment was the first moment that sparked my interest. Then when my grandfather died and appeared at my foot of my bed, and I was like, very
Yeah.
young, and he's saying to me, he's a little old Italian man, and he stuttered, and he's going, they're grabbing my feet, they're grabbing my feet, they're grabbing my feet. And he used to say to all my aunts and uncles, and there were 12 of them, okay, big family, my mom's big Italian family. And us as children were not allowed to go while he was being hospiced at home. So, so I wouldn't know what he's telling them, and my mom was crying in the morning. I got up and I said, Grandpa was in my room and he said they were grabbing my feet. And she just looked at me and started crying. She's like, what are you saying? I said, Grandpa was telling me they grabbed my feet. He said, oh, she said, Grandpa passed away last night. And he would always tell them that he said there were gremlins at the foot of his bed trying to grab his feet. Like grab his blankets. I know. And I'm going, oh my God. but that, so it's like, it just, the whole paranormal thing came in like full bore from there.
Isn't it interesting how times changed, right? So I was a hospice volunteer for a few years back then. Thanks, Stephen.
Great. Stephen.
So back in the 80s, even the 90s, right? When someone was actively dying, it was a time to usher the family out, right? No, you don't need to see this, just doctors or nobody, just leave them alone. And that's horrible. Right? That's terrible. And so thankfully now, thanks to a lot of research, a lot of good work from hospice and other organizations, when someone's actively dying, it's time for the doctors and medical staff to leave, and it's time for the family to be there. And also it's interesting, right? So people die the way they want to, which I know sounds crazy. But when you're in the actively dying process, like I remember my grandmother she was eventually in a nursing home, and they told us at one point, like, hey, she stopped eating, she's not drinking, it's going to be a few days and she's going to pass. And she just slept all the time. And they're like, she's done. And that's how it is. And we would sit with her for hours and hours, and we're holding her hand saying, it's okay. It's okay. We're here. And then eventually you got to go home and like get something to eat and take a shower. And once we did that, she died, because that's what she wanted. She didn't want us there. Right.
Right. My dad did the same thing.
That was her.
And we all went to eat, and then it was gone.
Yeah, that's what she wanted. She didn't want us there. And other people, someone's flying in from the other side of the country to say their goodbyes, and they hold on until they get there, and then they can go. Right. So everybody's different. You die the way you live. And that the thing about death, part of the reason I believe in spirits and some sort of afterlife is because I've seen dead bodies. Right. I mean, I've seen my grandfather in his bed before they ever removed him, to take him to the funeral parlor and stuff. And I remember thinking as a kid, wow, it doesn't look like he's sleeping, right? He's gone. I mean, it should. If there's nothing there, then it should just like, oh, you're sleeping but not breathing. But no, you can walk into a room and know that that thing that was him is gone. And where does that thing go? Like that's if I could answer that, right?
Yeah, I know. I have the craziest thing. I got to show you this. Is it on this one? I think this is the one. No, not this
Rolling
one.
Hills. We've all been there.
Yeah, Rolling Hills. I got the that was the 7-foot guy walking down the
Yeah.
hall. But that's not the one I want to show. This one. Okay, my husband passed away. Okay, and he was head down on a table. All right, he was sitting on this couch, but he was slumped over with his head on the table. All right, and when I came down, so he's on the table, so all the fluid went forward in his face. So, like it was all bloated. I picked him up and I just lost it, and
Sure.
And of course, I put him right back down where he was, called 911, blah, blah, blah. And they were over and they were taking him out. But I was down there because I kept hearing all these noises and everything. I went down there with a FLIR camera and I just took a picture of the couch. And that face was on the pillow. And I took 2 pictures of it, and it was the exact face of the bloated, So how did the face get on that pillow? You can tell that it's a couch, right? Like the back of it, and it's the pillow. So how did his face get on the pillow if he was on the table? This baffles me and makes me try to figure out a lot of things, in the paranormal. Again, another reason that sparked me into this whole, I've got to know the answers to these things. How is that a possibility? How can that happen? Where he was and where that pillow was so far away,
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we knew, we'd say it, right? I do believe that we get our signs and we get our connections in all kinds of ways. And I love the old adage, right? It's a proverb, right? That says we die 3 deaths. The first death is when your body expires. The second is when you're laid in the ground. And the third is when your name is uttered for the last time. And I truly believe that, the reason we don't talk much or experience ghosts further back than, say, I don't know, 200 years, right? Like there's a lifespan to it because the connection's just too far away, right? We don't talk about Roman soldier ghosts so much, right? From 2000 years ago. It's too far back. There's no connection. Civil War, sure. That was just like 3 or 4 people ago, right? That was just,
right.
know,
but
eventually
the trauma too makes it.
Oh, of course. Right. And like Civil War, we I'm sure we've all been to Gettysburg, I hope, at some point. I've been there a ton since childhood and doing what I do. And, everybody talks about how divided America is, and we are. Sure, there's a lot of division right now. However, you go to a place like Gettysburg and you just want all like 41,000 of those spirits to rise up and be like, "Oh, you guys divided? Oh, are you cupcakes? You fighting on the internet and stuff, calling each other names? Oh,
I love you.
Are you?"
That's
Sounds
priceless.
like it's bad. You got real butthurt about a post on the internet. Oh no.
Oh, I know, right? Yeah, not like you're, blowing my leg off in a field.
We got mowed down in Devil's Den, like
come through with a bayonet.
The soil was red with our blood, but yeah, you can fight on the internet. But that's part of the reason we tell these stories, right? That's part of the reason we keep them around, because we need them, right? We need these haunts. We need to connect and go back. And as soon as you say a place is haunted, the next question out of your mouth has to be why, right? That's if you're walking down the street with a friend and they say, "Oh, that building over there is haunted," why? Right? Who's haunting it and why? They say, "Oh, a little girl." Well, why a little girl? What happened? And then you've got to go back and you've got to answer that question and you've got to dig into the history. And because we know murders still happen, murders still go unsolved. People die untimely deaths by accident or on purpose or any number of things. And there's a lesson there. And the reason a community keeps a haunt alive is because we haven't really learned that lesson yet.
You would think with the history, that has been our world, that we would learn from those lessons, but we don't.
No, that'd be silly. What fun is that?
Go on.
It's so interesting because, like, okay, well, I swear I won't get political, but this is just like historic facts. We're living in a time where the gap between the haves and the have-nots is getting pretty huge. And every time that has happened throughout history in all kinds of various countries, it's
There's someone that,
always it's very bad, right? It ends really poorly, especially for the haves. So
yeah,
good
yeah,
news for us, not being
yeah, right,
crazy rich, right? Yeah.
right. I
uh,
know. I don't know if you watched the news today, but Bob was telling me that Trump said that he's going to be Trump RX or something,
well,
and
yeah, there's
he's.
going to be a drug plan. Yeah. But we live in
I
Massachusetts. Drugs are already legal here, which is great, by the way. Big fan.
Well, actually, I'm in Pennsylvania now.
Oh,
I
are you?
left, and I always said that if I ever left New England, Massachusetts, that I would live in Pennsylvania. And because it's like a good pivot point for all the great haunted locations,
Oh yeah, Pennsylvania's got so many great ones between, Penhurst, of course, is great, and
right? Yeah,
Gettysburg, and yeah, there's so many,
yeah.
so many. I lived in Pennsylvania as a kid for a few years. We lived in the middle of Amish country,
Oh no,
and I mean, we used to get stuck behind a horse and buggy going to like the grocery store, right? Like you're literally like trying to get around a horse going 8 miles an hour, and trying to get to the grocery store. And I remember, I mean, I was like 5 or 6, real young and impressionable. And my mom went into the Acme grocery store, and we came out, and there were two Amish ladies sitting in the bench right outside of the grocery store. And my mom said, "Oh goodness, I forgot something inside. Would you ladies please watch my son for just a minute? I'm going to run in and get the thing." And there's these two Amish women dressed in all black and white because that's how they roll, right? And
right?
and there's little 5-year-old Jeff and these two women just staring at me. And
Oh
my
my
mom
God.
went in for what felt like hours, but I'm sure it was just 2 minutes. And I'm staring at them, they're staring at me, and I'm just like, oh my God, they're using their mind powers on me or something. And then my mom comes out, grabs my hand, "Thanks so much, bye," and I'm just like, they're so different and weird. Um, Years later, I worked on a TV show for Destination America, which is a channel that over 4 people watched. And I worked on a show called Amish Haunting, which
I remember that.
oh
I
my
remember
God,
that.
I've now met all the audience. So well, you didn't watch it, you just remember it. So,
Well, I did watch it.
oh, well, thank you. I'd like to thank you and the other person who watched it. So, and that doesn't include my mom. So,
Oh,
so anyway, but working on that show, you realize like that community was so closed, um, uh, but also like had their own legends and stuff, right? So like,
right.
I remember dolls couldn't have a face. Like some Amish people would let you photograph them, but not their face because no graven images. They would turn around, right?
Right.
So if you were friendly with one and they were allow it, they would put their backs to you and let you take a picture of their backside, which was
Oh,
amazing. Oh my God,
there's another
both
two.
are all
Both
the
of us
viewers are
watched.
here. Thank you both.
Both of
Thank you,
us
Bob.
watched it. Yeah.
Thank you, Gina. Appreciate that. It won no awards.
No, but you won plenty with everything else.
Yeah, but it was fun to work on because you realize like on the one hand, um, how stupid of me as a kid, like they were just different. They were different, and to me that's all it was. But once I started working on that show, I realized like they're still people, and
Oh
and
yeah.
they've got their own legends and beliefs just like anybody else. It's just a closed community, and it's a rich community, and it's an interesting community, and but also like I sort of, it is funny, right? So the Amish were just like anybody else, except to a certain year. I'm right here, Bob. So the Amish were just like anybody else, but they hit a certain year and they're like, okay, this is where we stop. This is it. And then the rest of the world sort of kept progressing, right? So in the 1850s, right? Like they had horse and buggy, you had horse and buggy, right? So I picture like, what if it took off today? What if like Amish started today, where someone's like, all right, I've got the iPhone 15, and that's it. This- like this is where it stays, right? So a year goes by, okay, I'm just a little bit behind, but like 10 years from now, when they're up to the iPhone 35, I'm like, well, I still have the 15. This is where I stay, and it's
Yeah, I
just,
stay until you can't upgrade it anymore.
yeah, this is where we will hold right here, and think that that's the way to go. But yeah, but I love what legends say about a particular culture. just the whole, every part of it, right? Because like that, you learn so much about a culture by their ghosts and their monsters and the things that scare them and the stories that they keep around. And that includes us. That includes people from Pennsylvania and Massachusetts and anywhere else.
Yeah.
You learn a lot about us that way.
Now, didn't they bury the witch under a tree?
Oh,
It's
sure. So you,
years
you you
down.
bury the witch under a tree so it can't get up again.
Right.
And then eventually one day, mwah, God comes along and says, "Here's a big storm." And the tree blows over and all these bones come up and it's just great. People like me get very excited.
Exactly. That is where all the stories begin.
That happened. So if New Haven, Connecticut, New Haven Green, New Haven Green was burial grounds. There's a lot of bodies under there. And there was a big old tree that got blown over in a storm within the last like 20 years, right? And I just remember like bones came up and they were just like, "Oh my." And someone pretty quickly said, "Probably a witch," right?
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
they purposely
Under a
put the tree
tree.
right on top. So yeah.
Right. I know, it's so crazy because you
We're the
always thought
strangest
that.
species, you know?
I'm telling you, it's like and it's like everywhere. And it's not even, I mean, this started so long ago, before we could even interact with each other on different continents or anything like that. Everyone had their fairy and their folklore and their
Yeah.
legends and their everything, and it's amazing how similar they are. They may have different names, but
Right.
the entities and the beings and the, especially like, the saints and the things, the saints and even into voodoo and hoodoo and everything, they're the same as the Catholic saints, just different names.
So to go back to the Bridgewater Triangle, one of the strange creatures is the Pukwudgie, which has gotten famous because it got TV time, right? Once you get on TV, you get well known. But so Pukwudgie is part of Wampanoag folklore, Eastern Massachusetts, and it's a little magical creature that could turn itself into a ball of light, lead you down a path back to your village safely, or lead you off a cliff and kill you. It depended on their mood, right? There was no telling.
Yeah,
What I
that's
love
what I
about
learned about when I first met you.
yeah, right. So,
We
but what
laughed
I love,
about.
yeah, but what I love about that story is that it matches the same description of like Fey folk in Ireland and Celtic regions. It matches like little people legends of Inuit cultures in Alaska, and even some like tribal cultures in Africa, right? Like they have it's a different name, but it's a similar description. And you start
Right?
scratching your head saying, I don't
Yeah,
think in the
yeah,
1400s and 1300s that these cultures were talking to each other.
they were
But
not.
here we are.
Yep, yep. Oh, and okay. Oh,
Center Church facing the Navy Green.
Yep, that's very cool. And here's my co-host. Love you, miss you. She has a bad schedule, so she's not able to join us yet. So until she can change her schedule and get back here where she belongs, she's just popping in to
Darlene, let me give you some career advice. Quit your job. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like just quit and make this like, necessity. You got to be proactive about it. Just quit and do this.
yeah. Well, we don't do as many things as you do. We are here every week, but we don't do as many things as you do. Speaking of, you have
Yes.
so many podcasts. You have your, let's see, I have all these pictures here. So you have this. You can go on to YouTube. You can watch all these things. This was fun. All right, the Evening of Ghost Stories and New England Legends. And let me get this banner off of here so it's not blocking. Then New England Legends.
Right.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Okay,
Thank you.
again, here's the Bridgewater Triangle. And legend tripping. Look at this guy.
Yeah.
I love
Well, as you know, none of this pays all that well, so you got to kind of work in volume. But I just love these stories, but my favorite part of it is telling them, right? Because to tell the stories, I need to understand them down to the most basic levels. I don't understand easily or quickly. So for me, I need to study deep and break it apart into all its original pieces until I can get it. And then once I get it, then I'm excited to talk about it. Because
right.
like I said, I think they all have meaning. Like these legends are like a sermon from our past, whether it's a haunt or what have you. And that makes people like us, sort of ministers. and it
Yep.
ministers without the dogmas of a religion, without sort of like constrained rules to a belief system. Just like it's a story. If you believe in ghosts, then sure, it might have even bigger meaning. But if you don't believe in ghosts, there's the story still has value, and the haunt still has value, as does monsters, UFOs, and everything else. And it's so important that we tell these tales because we connect with their past, we connect with each other, and we explore the fabric of the communities we live in. And that's, I mean, that's why we do it. Um, if you think about like any paranormal show you've ever seen, uh, they don't, if they were really scientific, right? They'd be like, all right, here's a Walmart. It's 6 months old. We're going to investigate. But they would never do that because the story's
No.
stupid, right? There's no interesting story there. It's just like if you're being truly scientific, you'd want a baseline, right? You'd be like, let's go to a building with no reputation and see if we get EVP. Let's see if we get EMF meters readings, right? But we don't do that. We say like, ooh, 30 people were murdered there. Let me in. That sounds awesome. you know?
Yeah. Well, can I tell you another story?
Sure.
Belchertown State School.
Yeah,
Right?
I know Belchertown.
All right. I got the best thing from Belchertown like ever. I have this is a little clip I'm going to show you. And it's a FLIR video again too. And the clip here is just a minute of like the most congested of the apparitions walking. Okay. But what I got, we were in the auditorium part, okay, in the basement. So we were right in the downstairs basketball court. Okay. So this basketball court, the hoop on one end, we were at the hoop on this end. There's an entrance in the center. All right. And it's just a little room. There's no way anybody can get in there. It's just a little room. All right.
Right.
Then there's 2 rooms on either side. One has a spiral staircase that goes up, which I asked, wonder why they have that there. And I had my recorder on and it said for rushing back and forth. So they give you the answers. All right. This place was amazing for everything. But, we were standing underneath the basketball court. Now you'll hear my spirit box going, nothing. Okay. But we did get this.
Don't be afraid of that device. It's just so we can hear you talk. We don't want to hurt you. Come on in. Come in. Yeah. Come in. Hello. Hi. Yes, it is. What is it? Are you recording it? Yes. What's your name? You want to play basketball with us? Could you move again? Hello? Keep coming, it's okay. We're not going to hurt you. Right there, look at. You got a second. Don't be...
But there's just a minute, right? But I did get out of that whole clip, the whole clip was 15 minutes long that I took. I got 15 apparitions walking and one up above on the chain link fence, holding onto the fence. And you can see the grip marks, how like it turns like white. So you can see all yellow and white. And it was going like this upstairs. And I think that was this boy, Chris, because he was like following us around. He was saying, crisscross, bang, bang. And then all of a sudden he'd bang on a pipe twice.
Right.
But he'd say bang, bang. And then you'd hear bink, bink, And I'm like, all right. So I think he had something to do with the auditorium. Like he was in charge of something, maybe rushing people around, But
Yeah.
it was such a cool place, And then we tore that down, And that like Norwich, best evidence in the world, scary evidence at Norwich. I don't know what was going on there, but scary stuff. I wouldn't put it up here, But it's very strange. But these places are just, you don't know how to hold stuff.
Well, so like Norwich Hospital, shoot Penhurst, right? So I remember working on Penhurst for Ghost Adventures. We were the first show to film there. And I've worked on like 3 or 4 projects at Penhurst over the years, but I remember going there. I talked to a former, when I first started working on it, I remember hearing, I thought like, oh, abandoned asylum. I know what to do, right? Like I'm not saying they're all the same, but there's a lot of similarities between a lot of them, right?
Of course. Yeah.
but so working on it, I've been there a lot, Bob. So the first time
Yeah,
working
but
on
no,
it,
for our Paracon, you should come for Paracon.
yeah. So I worked on. I spoke to a former patient who told me, just how bad the conditions were, and that was hard to hear. And I remember talking to one of the former doctors who worked there, and you start to realize, like, it was they weren't cruel or evil people. They were just pushed past the brink, underfunded, understaffed, and and a policy that was absolutely destructive. And so I remember a doctor saying, like, look, as soon as you think of another group of people as something less than yourself, there's no limit to how badly you can treat them. Right. So if
Right.
something is less than human, then who cares? Right. So, people were kept in dog kennels, and Bill Baldini, who we also interviewed, who did the original expose on the whole place that got it all shut down. Once you started to dig into it, I started to realize, like, how important that story is. Sometimes you tell a ghost story and it makes you uncomfortable because it should make you uncomfortable. Like, that was the
Right.
1970s when this happened, right? This wasn't like 200 years ago. This was the 1970s.
Yeah,
And
they could
sometimes you
shut
hold
down people against each other fighting, you know?
but like sometimes a ghost story lets you hold a mirror up to America, and if you get uncomfortable, good. Maybe if you're uncomfortable enough, there won't be another Penhurst, right? So I remember being down in one of the tunnels connecting two buildings, and I was there with Zach and I was with Dave Schrader, and like weren't even filming. We had just got there, and all of a sudden we hear this like faint giggling way in the distance, and then this rush of air just is like rushes right by us, and we just looked at each other like,
Yeah. You
whoa. I
had to
mean, it
be
just
in
felt like
Rockwell.
it just felt like the building had something to say and wanted to talk and wanted us to hear it.
Yeah,
And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget, like, how profound of a place that was. And now, of course,
it
it's
is.
open for paranormal all the time, but that was
Yeah.
back when like nothing was. It was brand new. Well, not
Right,
brand
well,
new.
you wouldn't believe it now. I mean, it is so cleaned up, so different. A lot of the buildings
Sure.
are torn down that couldn't be fixed the ones that could be. It's amazing, the transformation, due in fact to, us having these paracons and such too, and all the other things that they do. Like
Yeah,
last year we had 9,000 people come. I
that's
mean, it
awesome.
was it was huge. Since we had Josh Gates, so like we had
Yeah,
all of these guys.
sure.
Of course, all our ghost hunters and all our friends and
Josh
whatnot come.
blurbed my book. If you look at the back,
Yep, yep, yep. I'm
Joshy
like,
Pants, also from Massachusetts.
yep, and that's why I was like, Did you ever want to be like Josh? Like, did you want
I
to?
think Josh wants to be like me, if we're honest.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah. No, I've known
absolutely,
Josh for
without a
years.
doubt. He loves a good
No,
story.
yeah, like, he does his thing, I do my thing. Like, no, he's great. I remember, yeah, we've done a few events over the years and sort of kept in touch. And yeah, no, he's awesome. And I mean, it was cool too. A few years back I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, which he had also done. And
Why?
we ta- we talked a lot about that. And I wrote a book about climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, and he actually gave me a blurb for that as well, because I know that was a
I didn't
special
know you
place for him.
wrote that. I would have promoted that. I didn't know that one. Oh my God. But why? Why would you do such a thing?
Because it's there. So it had been on my bucket list for a long time. Um, my brother-in-law had died from cancer in 2015, and it was a long battle. And he and I got really close as he was going through the dying process. Right, like, the doctors gave him 2 years, and
Sorry.
yeah, and it's funny thing about 2 years is, right, it's a long time and not a long time simultaneously
No,
somehow, right? It's both
flies.
quick and not quick. You can't hold your breath for 2 years, but it gets here fast. And
Yep.
so, I'd been a hiker. I'd done a lot of the mountains around New England and stuff like that. And I even took 2 semesters of Swahili, which is the language of East Africa, in college, which is a long, silly story I won't get into. But I had a language requirement and wanted to do something different and weird. And my mom's like, "When are you ever going to use that?" So, so
I
when
remember
Chris
hearing
died,
about Swahili on Star Trek.
yeah, well, uhura. Uhura
Yeah,
means freedom. That's
exactly.
Swahili, right?
Yeah,
The peak of Mount Kilimanjaro is called Uhura Peak.
yep.
So a few months later, I was doing a ghost hunt event for we're raising money to restore a historic haunt. And a woman I know from the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society said, Jeff, we got a fundraiser coming up. And I'd done stuff for them in the past. And she's like, I'm like, I'll help Amy if I can, but I'm really busy. And she's like, we're going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro to raise money for cancer research. And it was like a scratch on the needle, the record, everything stopped. And I was like, Kilimanjaro has just been on my bucket list. And I was like, raise money for cancer, do it in Chris's
Yeah.
memory,
Yep.
cross this thing off my
Check,
bucket list. I'm
check.
only like 3 years younger than Chris was when he was diagnosed. And I was just like, yeah, I'm in. And so I trained and we went there, and it was such a deeply profound and spiritual event for me, to go through that, 6 days to get to the top, 2 days to get back down. And, 19,341 feet in the air. It was just absolutely, uh, I feel like at some point, we're like a wet towel, and an experience like that just wrings it all out, just
Right.
wrings it out and
Puts a
renews
lot
you.
of things into perspective. What really, what this world's really about,
Yeah. So there's this, I was reading all kinds of mountaineering books and stuff, and um one of a couple things that stuck out. I remember, these old adages, right? Like you don't climb a mountain so the world sees you. You climb a mountain so you can see the world. And it's true. And I also remember I got to interview once Mark Inglis. He's the only man that ever climbed Mount Everest without legs. He had two artificial legs, and
I remember that.
also the only one to snap a leg in two on Mount Everest and still make it because he could repair it in his tent. So, but I remember him telling me, he said, you got to remember when you get to the summit, you're at the halfway point. Yeah.
Because now you got to come back down.
If you don't come back down, it doesn't count. So, yeah, and he's right. And that sort of echoed in my head. And so there were just so many moments on that. I talked to a lot of our guides, and I did speak some Swahili, and I remember asking them about like ghosts and spirits in East Africa. And they talked about how, the dead and their spirits are still just as relevant as the living. At holidays and things like that, it's understood that they're still with us. They're still important. They're still relevant. We talk about them. And I thought, what a cool way to look at it, because I think in our culture, we fear the dead, probably because it reminds us of our own mortality, like,
Mhm.
so talking about death reminds us that, oh, good, it's going to happen to me too. Um, and in other
Newsflash,
cultures,
I'm not gonna make it.
it's in other cultures, it's not this thing to fear so much. It's a part of life, and of course it is. So anyway, it was an amazing experience. And we got there because of Josh Gates. Josh climbed it too. He got he got his first show because he had just climbed Kilimanjaro, came home unshaven,
I
unshowered, and
know, with the mask and everything. Yeah, I remember.
you got to go right to the network right now, looking and smelling like this. And
Yeah.
so anyway,
I know
but
that.
yeah.
Isn't that a cool story? That is such a great story. He tells that too, like in his presentations when he goes around, does his bits like you do. And
Yep.
yeah, he tells that story. And that's funny because he's like, I go take a shower. And they're like, no. This is
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
And
So, yeah.
and they loved him. And they loved him. I mean, what's not to love? Josh Gates is Josh Gates. He's just an all around great guy, and that inquisitive, I gotta know, attitude and everything like you have, that just you gotta know, you gotta learn. I'm always saying that too. Never stop learning. I read so much. That's why I do my show, is so I can have all these different people on here and keep learning and hopefully put different things in people's minds out there.
Sure.
So I tell my own story every week.
Yeah.
But I love it. I do love it. And now, speaking of but would you like to come to Penhurst?
Yeah, I mean, sure. I'll go to, I do a lot of events over the years,
May 17th that weekend. So 17th, 18th that weekend. We'll talk after the show.
Sure.
Yeah, because I mean it's big, it's huge, it's great.
Sure.
A lot of people come. We have lots and lots and lots of vendors. We have a lot of things going on. We have ghost hunts going on, lectures going on, and now we have this new thing about trying to give regular people a chance to do their workshops and such.
Cool.
That's a first. But we have our VIP parties and our nighttime haunts and hunts with celebrities and all that kind of stuff. So there's some fun people coming. And if you would just, grace us with your presence, that would be amazing. But we will talk. We'll talk.
Sure. Sounds good.
Yeah. And now back to the
Yeah.
stories in here. All right, I just
Sure.
want people to understand, if you have not yet seen this book, okay, and it looks like this big book, and like, oh, I can't read all that. Yes, you can. It's all little tidbits and all little cute stories, okay? Very fast, quick reads. You can just open up to Ghost Ship of New Haven Harbor, okay? Read that, a couple pages, okay? So it's
There's even
amazing.
a painting of it.
Yes, I mean it's just all the artwork in here is phenomenal. All these places, like again, this is my old hometown here, so like a lot of these places I've been to, a lot of them I never even heard of. America's Stonehenge I've been to.
Sure.
The Emily's Haunted Bridge, okay, is that doesn't look like the one, but there was one that there was the massacre at. And that's somewhere in
That's in Greenfield, Massachusetts.
Greenfield. That's what it was. Yeah.
They call that the Screaming Bridge. I did a segment on that for Chronicle. If you remember
did
the
you?
show Chronicle, yeah.
Wow.
It's a Boston-based like news magazine show, but it's not nationwide. It's just Boston. But which one would you like to talk about, Emily's Bridge or the Screaming Bridge?
Both. Both. 'Cause I don't know what the fascination is with covered bridges that we all have.
Yeah, well,
even though
it's a
we've
throwback,
done
right? So it's like seeing an old building. It's the way bridges used to look, and some survive and they're historic and they're charming, but they also have history. And the Greenfield Screaming Bridge, there was a massacre in.
Bless
Sorry,
you.
that's been coming for a little while.
Oh, I hate it when that happens.
Yeah. Hey, it's live, right? So so there was a massacre, and a bunch of colonists were taken prisoner and were being marched to Canada. And those who couldn't make it were literally just either tomahawked or left for dead. And there was Eunice Williams was struggling in the snow, and it was cold, and she cried out, and she was tomahawked right there. And then later on, a bridge was built right where it happened. Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate it. A bridge was built, and it was almost immediately haunted. People would hear her scream, right? This sort of echo from the past. And there's a little monument right by the bridge too, to sort of commemorate where the massacre happened. And it ties to like the history, and the history is uncomfortable, right? So on the one hand, she was tomahawked by a Native American. On the other hand, we took all their land, and they were at war, trying to take, trying to keep their house, trying to keep their home, and it's complicated, and it does haunt us. And so that bridge, even though it's been burned, arsoned, rebuilt, that's not the original bridge anymore, but it's the same spot and it looks the same. When you go into a place like that, I think it contextually sort of puts you into a different time period. Like if you go into a historic home, like Lizzie Borden House is like a classic example, right? You walk in and it looks like 1892 inside the house, and suddenly your head is right there. And then if that's not enough, they have crime scene photos right where it happened, and you're like, oh, I'm standing exactly. Yeah, I'm standing exactly where this happened. So so I do believe that has a lot to do with it, that visually you're there. And so getting there in the time period is not much of a stretch, and you connect to it. And when you connect, sometimes weird things happen.
Yeah, definitely. I remember going there, and I was with my brother actually, he believes in the paranormal. Like he got more into it because of me, but I said, we have to go there, but he was more interested in, there were the ferns on the side, and he likes fiddleheads. So you can he's over there collecting fiddleheads, and I'm over there trying to investigate in the bridge. I'm like, all right, you go ahead.
What do you do with fiddleheads?
You cook them.
Oh, right.
In a pan with so you kind of parboil them a little bit, and then you put a bunch of butter on it, and I guess they're really good. I don't eat them. He does. He loves them. So
there's a brewery around here called Fiddlehead. Well, it's Fiddlehead IPA, right? And it's got the curly
curly.
fern.
Yeah,
It's the fiddlehead, right?
that's it. Just the top. Yeah, and you cook
Yeah, yeah,
those.
yeah.
It's
Anyway,
supposed to be really good, I guess. I don't know. I'm just
uh,
kind of like, yeah, I
I'll,
don't think I want to try that.
I'll keep if I'm ever that hungry, I'll let you know.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Now talk about Emily's Bridge.
So Emily's Bridge is in Waterbury, Vermont, just a stone's throw from the Ben and Jerry's factory. If you want to get some ice cream, and they have their own legendary place in there too.
Yeah.
So Emily's Bridge, right? They have the most famous
Graveyard.
cemetery, the Flavor Graveyard. It's so funny. It is such a hysterical thing to see. All these like headstones and the flavors and stuff. So, but Emily's Bridge is this is more legendy, right? The story goes that there's various versions of the tale. One is that Emily was jilted, right? She was left at the altar, and she was so angry about it. She hopped in a horse and wagon and started racing, trying to find that no good SOB that didn't show up to marry her, and she died right there. And now she haunts the bridge. And they say, when you go through at midnight and you honk 3 times or whatever, she comes out. Or the other version is she was jilted and hanged herself in the rafters of the bridge. And if you go through at night, you'll hear her feet scrape the top of your car or whatever. There's nothing in the history to point to any of this happening. I did find a car accident that flipped right there, back in like the 1940s. And there were horse and wagon accidents, but fatalities, I don't know. But it doesn't matter. The story sort of survives, even though I can't really trace an exact route to it. Like Lizzie Borden's, I can tell you what happened. You know what I mean? I could show you the pictures,
Yep.
But here,
well
I can't.
documented. Yeah, this is just based on hearsay, stories, legends, passing on this and that, and beliefs.
But it persists, right? So you know the concept of a tulpa or a thought form, right? So like at this point, whether you believe in it or not, like there's a presence there, and maybe we've created it. Maybe we've given it enough energy that it's now its own thing that's unique to that spot. Even though I can't say, on this date this happened. I don't know. People still go there and they get spooked.
Yep. I love it. And again, so that's what this is all about, people. There's so many just amazing little stories about just in New England. All right. So, Connecticut, Mass, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Vermont, Maine. You know what though? And in Rhode Island, did you go to the Stigmata grave?
Oh, I don't know if that one's in the book, but I've covered it in my podcast.
No, it's not in the book. Yeah.
I actually live really close to that.
Oh, cool.
So La Petite Rose
Yep.
was America's only alleged stigmata, right? And there's a lot of pictures of her. For those who don't know, it's you love Jesus so much he lets you suffer like he did, with like literal wounds in your hands and blood on the foreheads and feet and all that other stuff. And she died young, and her grave is in this beautiful cemetery. Oh, you put up the Evening of Ghost Stories in New England Legends. Remember that? That's pleasure. That picture you put up of us, the group of guys with me. That's Precious Blood Cemetery. That's where she's buried.
All right.
So there's that monument we're standing at right there.
Yep, I was there. Yep.
That's a monument to a former governor of Rhode Island, but Petite Rose is just 100 feet away from there. So
I went there with Bob, and we were, I was doing the flare, and we were doing EVPs and everything, and we've got the blood.
So the thing about so for Catholics, right? People would write her letters. There's still like a foundation for her for little La Petite Rose, and people will go. She's got pennies on her graves. There's always flowers there. So people will come and pray at her grave for her to like intervene on their behalf for, whatever they've got a sick kid or something like that. And so she's still a celebrity, even in death, all these years later.
Yep. This is my little parakeet. She's like 9 years old, and she's a great little investigator. And because I'm the parafox, I named her the parakeet because she's little.
Oh, cute.
And I said, well, someday when I retire, then she can take over the parafox.
Skylar, we always need ghost bait.
Yes, yes.
That's why we
She'll
throw
be
the
right.
kids
She'll
out
be
there.
the first one in the door.
Yeah, yeah, that's fun.
She's really a very good investigator, honestly.
Cool.
You know, yeah, because usually I don't allow children to go anywhere like that. But her, hands down, any day. I've given her so much equipment because we do Vortex Ghost Gear.
Yeah.
And so we've given her almost all our equipment. We're working on it slowly. Can't give it to her all at once. I got to give her a piece at a time.
My daughter, my daughter's now in college, but she, growing up around me and this stuff, like I've dragged her to all kinds of places over the years. It's not her interest, it's not her passion, but she's always down for she was always down to tag along. And I worked on a project once at the Conjuring House, and I don't live very far from there either. And I've worked on several projects there, not
I've
just
never
the
gone.
event. What's that?
I've never gone to the Conjuring.
Now you never will, probably.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't really want to now.
It's pretty well ruined, but beautiful old historic house. And it was weird, right? So I watched the Conjuring movie. My daughter loves horror movies, loves them, right? And so we watched a lot of horror movies. We watched the Conjuring movie, and it was weird to watch a movie where I'm like, I know every single person being portrayed in this movie. I mean, personally, I know the parents, I know Roger and Andrea, and I've met the sisters, and I know Ed and Lorraine Warren. I grew up with them, and I knew all the people that were being portrayed. Obviously, that movie is such a work of fiction, like nothing even close to like
I
what
know.
happened.
Andrea was so mad. She was so mad. Oh my
Sure.
God.
But at the same time, and it's a really interesting case. Anyway, she loved the movie, and that all changed tonight. Do tell, Bob. Don't bury the
I
lead.
know. What changed tonight?
So they were running it as like a haunted attraction, and that is a small town, and it's a remote part of town. But oh, okay. Well, whatever. We'll let that play out however it plays out.
Right.
Yeah, I actually don't even care.
It's hard to follow.
Yeah, I know. And let me say it again. I don't care. Like, I just don't care. I'm no one died in that house as far as I know. Like,
Oh,
I mean,
no. And I really believe that the haunting in that house was with the parents and not the house.
yeah, could be. But anyway, here nor there. So I was doing something for Discovery. We were doing one of the shock docs in there, and I said to the producer, I said, "Hey, is it okay if I bring my daughter? Because like I've got childcare issues." She was like 13 at the time. I had no childcare issues. Total lie. And I said, "Sophie, you want to go to the Conjuring house, like the actual house that the movie?" She's like, "Oh my God, yes." So she goes with me, and like filming is super boring. Like you sit there for like 4 hours doing interviews, and she sat in the kitchen and was like playing on her phone and doing homework and stuff. And I said to her, I'm like, "Make sure you use the bathroom while you're here. Just make sure you use it." And she's like, "Dad, I'm not a little kid. Like, I got it." And then as we're leaving, I'm like, "Did you use the bathroom?" She's like, "We were here for 4 hours. I think I went twice." And she's like, "Why was it so important to you that I use the bathroom?" And I'm like, "So you can tell your friends the rest of your life you peed in the Conjuring house." And she was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." I'm like, "I know, right?" So anyway, we've got that going for us, which is nice.
Hey, well, now, you know what? What else is there to do?
I know. Like, well, there's one other thing, but
There's one other thing. You got to go to Penhurst Paracon.
this is a family show, so we only peed in the Conjuring house. We didn't go number 2. All right, I'll spell it out.
The adult hour is on now.
No, I don't mean. I'm not being sexual. I meant number 2. Number 2.
Oh, okay.
We didn't stink up the Conjuring house. Anyway,
I love it. I love
but
it.
yeah, but these play. So what was interesting is I knew the woman that owned the house before everything, right? Norma, and so after the movie came out, I was giving a talk somewhere, and this woman walked up to me and she said, "Hi, I'm Norma Sutcliffe." And I was like, "Okay, I'm sorry, I don't know who you are." And she's like, "Well, I own the Conjuring house." And I went, "Oh my God." I said, "Would you be willing to talk to the audience tonight after I talk?" And she's like, "Well, I don't want to make a fuss, but if it comes up, I okay, sure." And I was like, "Okay, sure. If it comes up,
Yeah.
then
If
great."
it comes. Yeah.
So I go to this kid in the front row who I sort of knew. He'd seen me, do programs before, and I was just like, "Hey man, look, when I ask for questions, you put your hand up and say, what do you think about the Conjuring movie and the Conjuring house?" He's like, "Got it." So I'm done. I'm like, any questions? Yeah, you. He's like, what do you think about the Conjuring movie and the Conjuring house? I said, wouldn't it be cool if the owner was here tonight? And everyone's like, yeah. And I'm like, Norma, come on up. And so I sort of interviewed
Amazing.
her in front of the audience. And so keep in mind, right? She, first of all, she was on the show Ghost Hunters years before the Conjuring movie ever came out, saying I have a haunted house. No connection to the Warrens at the time, nothing, right? Like none of that. And so she was on that, but then sort of downplayed it after that. But then the Conjuring movie came out and it ruined her home and her life because
Yeah, you can't even. You have no peace.
well, so you had a house that was like, so in real estate they call it a stigmatized property, right? So like the Amityville house is the quintessential stigmatized property. If you buy that house, you need to know you are buying a lot of baggage with it, right? This horrible thing
Yep.
happened there, and people are going to stop in front of your house all year long, day and night, taking pictures, doing
Yep.
all kinds of things. That's what you're buying
Knocking
into.
on your door. You know.
Right.
Yep.
The Conjuring house was not stigmatized. It was fine. It was a peaceful place until the movie came out, and then the internet said this is the real house. This is the address. And then I remember Norma telling me, this is before she sold it and it became what it became, but she's like, she and her elderly husband were sitting in the living room watching TV at 10 o'clock at night. And she said, all of a sudden, these flashes of light start going off. And she realized someone was in the window clicking pictures, clicking
Oh
their
my
camera through
God.
their window. Imagine
Oh
that's your
my God.
parents or your
No.
grandparents or whatever.
No.
And they couldn't live there anymore. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, like the parents got money for their story, all the actors got money for their story, but the people who own that house had nothing but a problem, a
Mhm.
huge security problem.
Yep. Well,
And
now
so they put up,
the Smurl house, the same thing is going on here now. I'm not too far from the Smurls, you know.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So because of that movie now, that street, it's a little tiny street, is very, you know, active all day and all night.
And I get it, right? So I get it because the reason people are drawn to this is right. You want to become part of the story. That's why you ghost hunt. That's why you investigate. Like you want to become part of the story. You say that building is haunted. Let me check it out. I want to
Right.
find out. And you might go in and you might say it's all hype. I didn't see anything, which is silly. It just means you had a quiet night. But
Yeah.
or you may go in and go, oh my god, I got
Right.
more than I bargained for. It's real. And now you've got a chapter in the story that is that haunt or that building. And
Yeah.
so I get it. I totally get wanting to gawk, but I also really understand the community around there, right? It is a
Yeah.
back road. The houses are spread apart. Nobody asked for this, like this is a very quiet place to live. And then it turned into an attraction. And then I'm sure
Yeah,
it sounds like Bob's watching the soap opera much more closely than I am.
well, we're pulled into it. Let's
Yeah.
just say
And
that,
let me say for a third time, I don't care.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
We'll just see. We'll just, it's going to be what it's going to be, and when it happens or
Yeah.
whatever's going to happen,
Not
then
my circus, not my monkeys. You know what I mean?
there you
Uh,
go.
uh,
There you
plus,
go.
also, like, I'm of the opinion I'm always interested in the next story. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah,
wanna
5
find
steps
the next
ahead
one,
all
find
the
the
time.
next one. There's a place in Western Massachusetts called the Houghton Mansion. It's all shut down
Oh,
now, too
love
bad.
it, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Oh
Can't get
my
in
god.
anymore, but yeah, great place. The Masons that ran it, like, Josh and all those guys were great, and they would let people in all the time, and they were awesome, cool haunt, crazy history, tragic history, great building. And I remember them saying, like, they were Masons. That was the Masonic Lodge, and they formed a paranormal group because the place was so haunted, and they got to investigate it like hundreds and hundreds of times. And I totally respect that. I truly do, because when you walk into a new building for the first time and you hear tapping in the wall, you could be like, ooh, ghost. Someone who's been there a long time would be like, no, that's where the water pipes are, and it
Right.
ticks
Yep.
when it's cold outside, right? Not a ghost, but I know that because I'm here all the time.
Yep.
You also know
I went there
when,
many times.
yeah, but like, so, but like when you're familiar with the place, like, oh, the third step creaks when you step on it, and you get to learn the intricacies of each building. So I love that they spent so much time there, that they knew it inside and out in every corner.
Yep.
However, I don't have the attention span for that, so So I love visiting. I love going, you know, a couple of times, and then let's see what else is out there. Let's move on to the next story. That's me though. That's how I roll, and I accept that about myself, and it is what it is.
Yeah, it was like one of our favorite haunts, to go to,
Yeah.
because we'd always get something when we go there. There was
Oh
always
yeah.
something, and it was so strange. I was sitting in the basement, or
Hmm.
by myself, and I just, I have the camera behind me. We were looking for a ghost cat, right? So
Okay.
not over by where all the toys were for the little girl. We were in that other little room at the bottom of the stairs. So I'm sitting there, and I guess my camera came unplugged. It was the plug was in the middle of the stairs. So
Hmm.
Frank, one of our guys, was coming down the stairs, and I heard the creaking coming downstairs, and I said, "Oh, who's that coming down the stairs?" Right, and I said it just kind of funny,
Yeah.
EVP, because I have a recorder in my hand, I have a recorder on the floor, you know. Right in my ear it was loud, and it sounded like this too. It said, "It's that man." It was like, oh, oh my God, it was so funny. But I didn't
Yeah.
see any ghost cat. But we had so much other things go on there. That story is pretty amazing of what happened there before the Masonic Lodge.
Oh, sure. So AC, I'll tell it so people aren't wondering the story. So AC Houghton was the first mayor of North Adams, which is this cute town in Western Mass, right on the New York border. And he was captain of industry kind of guy, and he had an automobile, a Pierce Arrow. Had one of the first automobiles around, and his chauffeur, Mr. Witters, was used to driving horse and buggy, so he's literally learning to drive a car. And one day, he and his daughter, his adult daughter, and another couple friends of theirs take a drive to Pownall, Vermont, which is just 15 minutes north. It's just right, it's right in the corner there, North Adams. And while pulling up a hill, Witters was trying to get the car around some construction, and the tires hit a soft shoulder, and it sent the car tumbling down a hill. The men were thrown from the car. Uh, the female passenger was killed, crushed instantly, and Houghton's daughter was horribly hurt, brought to the hospital where she died a short while later. And Witters was just so upset. And the next morning, he went into the horse barn and took his own life with a revolver.
Yeah.
And AC Houghton, the dad, died like a week later. They say of a broken heart. Other skeptics would say, well, maybe he had internal injuries that were never treated.
Mhm. You know
Doesn't
what?
matter.
I got an EVP up there because I was asking about that. I said, "Did you die of a broken heart?" And what I got, and it was plain and clear, was pneumonia. And I was like, pneumonia, I was like, huh, okay.
That
Um,
would have been that would have been known
yeah, that's what
if he
I
had
thought.
pneumonia. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
that's what I
they.
thought.
But anyway, so so yeah, but he died, and
Yeah,
so you've got 3 deaths in the span of a week. 4 rather, really 4 deaths, and 3 of the people, including Witters. Witters lived in that house, right? Took his own life in the barn.
yeah.
3 of those people lived in that house, and all were gone in the span of a week. If you go to Houghton's grave,
Yeah, you can
um,
go down to the cemetery. It's not far from the house.
it's not far, but you can see there's a monument to Houghton, and then there's the 4 stones for the Houghtons, but in the
And then,
back is Witters, right?
yeah,
So like he was, I mean, that's how he was considered family. He's literally buried in the family plot for the Houghtons. And that's how close they were. He wasn't just an employee, like he was family. And so you've got this heartbreaking, tragic story. And then his mansion was, his widow eventually gave the place to the Masons. The Masons built on the attached lodge, and that's what it was for a long, long time. I know
yeah.
that it was purchased to try to turn it into like a restaurant and possibly like a bed and breakfast, but that was right before COVID, and then COVID hit and just killed all those plans. And
Uh,
I was speaking in North Adams this past October, and I forgot to ask like what the status was, but at last I heard, it's just sort of in limbo, that
oh,
it's not the lodge anymore. It's just they don't know what to do
nice
yet.
to, his
Yeah.
library was gorgeous,
Oh
and
yeah.
I was like saying, again, I walk around with the recorder all the time, and I was saying how beautiful, because I'm a designer, it's how
Yeah.
beautiful the woodwork is and everything, and I got a very nice thank you. And then we even crawled up on the roof, me and my friend Sue, and we were sitting up on the roof because you can go through the little
Right.
And we were talking about the Masons and stuff, and I'm like, yeah. I said, are there any Masons up here? And again, Grandmaster Carl. And I'm like, I didn't even know that there were Grandmasters, but that was the EVP that I got. And then you go down, and if you read, there's a thing with all the people, where the Masons listed on there,
Oh,
and there
sure.
was
Yeah.
a Carl on there. And I was like, huh, okay.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty cool. Not always do spirits tell you the truth. That's for sure.
Right.
So, but sometimes they do.
Well, what's interesting to me too, like I've done enough of these things, and I don't get EVP. Like I don't, I just it's not my talent, right? I don't get them. I've tried, I gave up. Um, but it's always interesting to me when we're at a haunted location and someone starts to get like family come through. I remember being at Louisville, Louisville, Kentucky, the Waverly Hills,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and so wild place, right? Tuberculosis sanatorium, like 400 rooms, thousands of people died there over the years, just because a lot of people went there because they were terminal.
Yeah.
And I know, like, I always imagine what it must have been like for someone to go in. Like, I try to put myself in the shoes of the people that would have been patients there, and
Yeah.
just imagine being wheeled into a place like that, knowing this is probably my last address, right? That's got to be troubling.
Yeah.
So it's a profound place. The whole building was electric the first time I was there. But I remember someone was just like, "Oh my God, I got an EVP of my grandmother." And I'm like, "Wow." So was she a patient here? Was she a nurse here? Did she have a connection? She goes, "No, I don't think she's ever even been to Kentucky." And I went,
Huh.
"Oh, well, why do you think you got an EVP of your grandmother, like, in this building?" And what I suspect is that, and this ties in oddly enough with like Ouija boards, right? So I think we all have intuition and abilities to connect. When you take out a Ouija board, you're trying to have a psychic experience, right? There's nothing magic about plastic and cardboard. It's just, it is what it is. But when you use it, you're tapping into this thing that we probably all have, and whatever comes through comes through. But you're in that mindset because the Ouija board is in front of you. When you walk into a profound haunt like Waverly Hills, like Penhurst, right? You are now in a mindset. First of all, you've seen these places on television. You may have read about them in books or heard about them in podcasts or whatever, and now you are fully open. You are on high alert for
Right.
any sort of activity. And sometimes I think maybe this family spirit is around us all the time. We just don't think about it in Walmart. You
Right.
know what I mean? But
Yeah, exactly.
when we're in, yeah, but when we're in a place like Waverly, we're just on high alert, and whatever comes through, even though it may not have any connection to the building. And I've seen it happen
We
more than
made,
once, to the point.
we made a thing. I got to show you this.
All right.
I'm gonna break it. Okay. This is the mad scientist that I live with by the name of Bob. He wanted to make this hands-free Ouija board. Right?
Okay.
So this is, the spirit does this. I hope the batteries are good here.
Oh, it's like EMF or
It's got 3 sensors on every letter. So what
okay.
you would do, the spirit
Oh, yeah.
touches it. You don't, so you
Oh,
put
that's
it down.
cool.
And right when he first got done making this, okay, we were just being interviewed by some Marywood college girls, because their college is haunted, and they were
Okay.
interviewing us about ghost detectives, right, and stuff like that. They didn't even realize that we made the equipment. We just got done making this. We put it on the table, and we turn it on. And we're talking to them. Now we have this on film because they were filming. They had that nice camera and everything. And now she's a newscaster for our local news station, which is great. But
Yeah, cool.
anyway, she's recording us, and we're standing there just talking about the board. Now the board goes where the W is. I gotta show you, because the W is here. Okay.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden it lights up W, and then it goes up to the 0. Okay. And then it went back to W. So it was spelling wow. Right. And I said, oh, we're going, wow. It just, like, we're not touching it. You're not touching it. And I'm like, nope, we're not touching it. Right. And then I said, well, maybe it's spelling, Bob goes W, and then, the 0 to W. He goes, whoa. And I said, no, that's wow. But they spelled it wrong. And then this happened. It went W, O, which is here.
Yeah.
W. So it corrected itself. Right. Now that's my house. My house is definitely haunted. I've got a lot of stuff going on here.
That's cool.
Very well documented stuff going on here, but that's
a
like,
really cool idea.
It's, yeah. And we were freaking out, because, and they're like, why are you so crazy? I was like, cause it works. Right. So, but I mean, inside there's,
it's like Stranger Things on the wall.
Yeah. There's so many wires in there. That thing is so sophisticated. We can't build that to sell that because it'd just be way too complicated and be way too expensive. Some guy offered me $14,000 for that thing. I was like,
14
no.
is a rather specific number.
I know. I think that's all he had. Because he started low and he went up to, and I was like, nope.
Yeah.
No. You
That's
wanted
funny.
an event, we'll go with it. But, we're not selling it.
No, that's cool. I mean, look, for as long as there's been communication, people have tried to adapt those devices for spirit communication, right? Like the daguerreotype camera comes out, and it was only like 10, 15 years later that someone claimed they were capturing spirits with it, and then audio recordings were still new. And then people claim they were getting voices that they didn't hear, at the time. And so I think it's really fascinating when we try to take technology and adapt it to something that can, sort of help us bridge that gap. I had all that stuff over the years. When Bill Chappell first made the his Kinect camera.
God. Yeah.
I had one of the first prototypes. I had, before it was the handheld thing, I had, like, you had to hook it up to the laptop and all that other stuff. And I saw it do some pretty weird stuff. And I might have talked to Bill a lot over the years about these things. And I'm just like, the longer I've done this, the more I've completely moved away from equipment personally. Just because for me, like, I want to just see and experience whatever the building has to offer. I'm not psychic. I'm not even sensitive, but once in a blue moon, something happens and you don't ever forget it. You know what I mean? I just think that, but I dig that people are trying to, like, say, like, all right, if something's in the environment, I should be able to measure fluctuations, whether that's temperature.
Okay, this is what we have. Okay, we have our dome, right? That's static. So they say when a spirit manifests, it makes static energy. That's what that records. Okay,
right.
And the lights will go around, and and they can manipulate, and they do. I mean, like, you can watch a spirit walk down the hall. We have different colors.
Sure.
We'll put them all down the hall, and you can watch it go pink, 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 pink by every one of them. We'll say, like, the orange one. Now we have all cool new colors, but like the orange one, like the purple one, like the black one, and they will. It's amazing. We have a geophone that's for vibration. So it's got sensitivity. So, like, high or low. So you got a hard surface, turn it up. You got a soft surface, turn it down. So why? Because footsteps, because what's the claim in the area? So that monitors that. We have our coffin crypto box, which is for range, right? So, like, if something is, like, if you have two and you're in a huge place like Penhurst, okay, and you want to go down one side of the tunnel and down the other side, you can have two of these crypto cords that have, like, different music. So if something goes and passes in front of it, it's going to turn on and off quick. But if something stays moving in front of it and it's hot, cold, or motion, it's going to continue to play. So it's there. Investigate. It's right there. You know what I mean?
Right.
And and that's for range. So you can monitor huge spaces that way, like, so that something's there. Then we have, like, HTOs, which is, like, specific item monitoring. So again, it's for claims. It's for all these different things that could happen in an investigation. So if you go into, say, investigate a bar, right? And
I always find spirits at the bar, Gina.
Yes, but you can put, like,
don't.
So we have, like, this metal tray, right? You can put this little alligator clip on the metal tray, but you can put, like, even this, and if they touch it, you can set the sensitivity so that it will light up. So you can put a bottle of beer, a bottle of booze, shot, whatever. Okay. All that kind of
Right.
stuff on there. And when they touch it, because water is a conductor, they touch it, it's going to light up, so it's all things to validate claims,
Sure.
we have like proximity meters. We got cats and dogs that look real, so
Right.
everyone cats and dogs, so
Yeah.
grandma loves cats and dogs and grandpa, and sort of the kids, and especially at the asylums, they just want that comfort, so they always work, and they're proximity meters. So they actually come up and they pet the animal and it lights up and it has a nice music mode or a REM mode, so the proximity thing. And then we
Yeah.
have like a B-Pods proximity too. And, it's like, and then we have, of course, and then you have to hear, we have to see. So we have, the GoPro
Yeah.
that is full spec,
Sure.
and the lights. And then we have the, our Easy Scan Ghost Box. I just made one today that was all Edgar Allan Poe. It's really pretty.
Cool.
So I designed the outside of the box and everything, make it gorgeous, but inside is what counts. So it's like the SB7 that Zach always used. So it's like that, but it's a lot easier to use and it's very pretty.
Yeah.
Easy to
Where do you
hook
where
up.
do you stand on doing human sacrifices in a ghost investigation?
I don't do that.
Oh, you don't do that? Oh, all right.
I don't. I
Weird.
don't. See, I know. I mean, something about it just kind of is wrong. But I mean, we took
Got to
people
stir it
on
up.
ghost hunts. I know, but we took people on ghost hunts, and it's like I have this thing. See, I died and came back, right? And ever since I have these tones, so I know when a spirit's in the room. They have like a low, medium, and a high tone. Low is very nerve-wracking to me, right? So the medium and the high is the good, but I'll keep people away. If I hear a low thing, if I got people with me, I will go, let's go this way,
Right.
and stay away from that. But I don't do any of the sacrifice stuff, What's this? Oh, yeah. What is your most memorable experience?
I guess you don't forget your first, right? So I had already been writing about ghosts. I started in the mid '90s writing about ghosts for newspapers and stuff, and like Halloween features and things like that. And um, uh, I, I didn't I didn't have my own experience until 2003. I had interviewed hundreds of people about their ghost experiences. I didn't think they were lying to me. I have a pretty good ear for that. I think they experienced something profound, but I sort of took the position that, like, well, I believe that you believe. Like, I wasn't there, so I can't say for
Yeah.
sure, but I don't think you're lying. The jury was out, and so I was in Paris, France, and I had a day to myself, and so I had some work colleagues I was with, and like, we're going to the Louvre or the Musée d'Orsay. You want to come with us? I'm like, I'll catch up with you later. I'm
You
going
better-
underground. So
Yes.
so I went down into the catacombs, and this is 2003, and I speak, a little bit of French. And so I get down, and I'm going down, like 30, 40 feet below the city, and it's so quiet down there, and you just hear like the drip of water through the limestone, and you have to understand there's just this massive network of tunnels underneath Paris where they pulled all this limestone out to build the city. And as like the mid 1700s got to the 1800s, the city was getting dense and heavy, and some of these tunnels were collapsing because the ground is hollow. Also, the cemeteries were completely overflowed. If you've ever been to Paris, there's only a couple tall buildings, and then it just sprawls forever, right? So the cemeteries got encircled, and then over the centuries they just got full. So the bodies are spilling into the streets. They had to empty them. They go down into these catacombs. That's where they move all the bones. So I'm going through, and I see graffiti from the French underground. I'm making lefts and rights, and finally I get to this door that says in French, "Stop. This is the Empire of the Dead." And as I walk through, there's just millions of human skeletons all around you, right? And I mean, you could touch them. There's no plexiglass or anything like that. It's right there. And it just
Wow.
took my breath away. And I'm totally alone. No one's down there with me. It's just me. And so I'm walking through these tunnels, and I start to sort of calm down. You're like, okay, the heebie-jeebies are initial shock. And then there's signs that tell you where the bones came from, but there's no way to know who's who anymore. Just like, it's like at a cemetery, everybody gets a headstone or at least a family
Right.
stone. But
Right.
down here, everybody's just kind of pushed into one collective voice, right? And as I'm walking down this long hallway, I stopped because this shadow came from one side of the tunnel, went to the left, and then back again. And I just froze. And I went, all right, wait a minute. I'm alone. And my first thought is, okay, there must be a little side tunnel up there, and someone else is down here with me. Someone snuck in, or I don't know. And that's also the way out. I got to keep walking this way. So I keep walking, and there's no side tunnel. It's just straight all the way to the end. And in that moment, I went, oh my God, this is what everybody is talking about, right? Like, I didn't ask for it. I'm not psychic. I'm not sensitive. I was just in the place, and it happened. And it took days, it took weeks to sort of fully sink in. And I'm like, if not a ghost, I don't have another word for what it is that I saw. And then I started thinking about my last name. My last name is Belanger. Well, over there, it's Belanger, right? It's a French name. I'm a total mutt at this point. I've been like, my family's been in America for generations, and we've all mixed bread with all kinds of people. But at the root of it, I was like, my DNA strands are in some of these bones somewhere, right? It's, I mean, and I believe that. I believe that I've got some very distant relative
Yeah, no
that
doubt.
might be down there, right? Like, and that moment I connected. And now I think about it, like, for me anyway, I think about it like a lightning strike. Like, we know lightning strikes the earth like 1,000 times a day all over the planet, but not usually right near where you're standing. If it ever does strike right near where you're standing, you will never ever forget that experience. And that's how it was for me. I even went back like 3 years later. I was in Paris again, and I was with my wife this time. And so she's like, I want to go. I want to go see the place. I'm like, let's go. I went back, and we go down there, and I'm right back to the spot. I'm like, all right, come on out, meet the missus.
Yeah.
And nothing was
No,
there that day.
well, it
As you
was for
know,
you.
yeah, it happens. Sometimes you go to a haunt, and it's like off the charts, and then you go
Yep.
back another night ready for everything, and it's just dead,
No.
forgive the
And
expression.
it's not that expensive too to go there. Like, you can go to Paris for a weekend. You can stay in a hotel that's right across the street from the catacombs. There's a hotel right there. It's not that expensive. I looked into it. I was going to do
Sure.
it last year with my daughter, and she went in. Her and her husband went into the catacombs when last time they were there for me, so that they could take
Yeah.
pictures and everything.
Yeah.
It's not that they're into it; they just did it for me, which I love them for
Yeah.
that. But she's like,
Mom
she
needs
knows it.
yeah, let's go see the Mona Lisa. Let's go see the Venus de Milo. No,
Oh,
I gotta go take pictures of skeletons for mom. That's awesome.
that's right. Well, I wanted to see the Mona Lisa too. So, my
It's
other
very
daughter,
underwhelming. It's
I
very
know,
underwhelming.
small, but
It's just a
man, my
little
my
thing. You're like,
my
that's
Jess
it.
was just there with my grandson. She was in the Louvre right before it got robbed. Like right
Which time?
before she saw all the jewels and everything that they went out the
Yeah, yeah.
window. Then, like she saw that with my grandson in the morning. They were there, and then that happened right before she was, like leaving. I was like, oh my God, that's so crazy,
Yeah, yeah. No,
So
it's a historic city. It's a beautiful city. And uh one of the things I love about travel is also learning about their legends, and of course seeing Dustin and Grant. Yes. Um
yeah,
seeing the way different cultures deal with their haunts. A lot of similarities with the way we do, but then a few subtle differences too, and that's always really intriguing to me, is like, what's different about this. In Europe, the buildings are just so much older. You know what I mean?
right.
So I think it's a little more matter of fact, which is I think some of the, we carry that in New England too, right? I remember being in England, and I was at Ordsall Hall, and they, 700-year-old manor house, right? And I was talking to one of the docents, and I said, "Oh, is it haunted?" And he's like, "Don't be daft, boy. It's a 700-year-old manor house. Of course it's haunted." I'm like, "Oh, forgive me. I'm just a stupid American." Because that's just the attitude. It's just like, yeah, it's haunted. So what? And people see this and that, and that's the ghost. And what do you want for lunch?
Mm.
And I thought, like, that's just really cool. In some parts of the United States, well, we don't talk about ghosts here, right? We don't talk about haints, or it's just the god or devil, right? It's there's and then other parts it's like, no, there's energies and this and that. Like there's cultural differences just within our country. Um, but like here in New England, I think we carry some of that sensibility of like old Europe, right? Because we get some old buildings, nothing compared to them. But you drive down our main streets, and well, yeah, that's what it looked like in 1802 as well. It's just there was like 3 less Dunkin' Donuts back then. But
Yep.
so we sort of carry that, like, yeah, that one's haunted, that one isn't. What do you want for lunch?
I know. I love driving down the street and I look around and it's just like, yep, that's definitely haunted. But I love like driving around like the back roads and stuff in Vermont, and the things you come across are just amazing. It, uh, all the old farms, all those old bridges, all those, it's just history everywhere. I love it. But
Yeah.
you just aimlessly drive, and you're gonna find something. But you got America's Stonehenge in here, and you got the talk about the lightning strike too. The guy leaving church that got struck by
Oh
lightning.
God, yeah. That's in
Yeah,
so in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
yeah.
I used to joke with my mother that I said, "Well, I don't go to church anymore because lightning would strike," and she she didn't never found that funny, but there's a grave in Bridgeport. It's an old burial ground, and it's the grave of David Sherman, and it says, "Here lies David Sherman, who was killed by a lightning strike in the house of God while at service." He was literally struck dead by lightning in church while church was in service.
My
And
dad always said he was an atheist. He goes, "If I go in there, I'm going to get struck by lightning." I'm like, "Come on."
that doesn't happen. It does. It's literally in stone. And not only that, I dug into the story, and it turns out there were actually 2 people killed by that lightning strike. And one of the other guys nearby lost a shoe. His shoe flew off in the lightning strike. So 2 guys died and someone lost a shoe. And it's literally there on the grave. And I'm just like, and what it came down to was it was the old Stratfield Meeting House, and they never put a lightning rod on the building. They didn't get around to it.
Yeah.
And had they put a lightning rod, 2 people would be alive and 1 guy would still have his shoe. But I love the old epitaphs that we get around here. Some of them are so funny,
Mhm.
so creative,
God.
or just weird or dark,
Yeah.
and they endure. And I was, I've said this before, but like, if you want to live forever, I'll give you the secret. I'll tell you right now, you can have this for free. Just put a really funny epitaph on your headstone.
Right.
It will
Right.
talk
I
about you
know.
for centuries.
Right?
Yeah,
I remember
centuries.
going into when we were little, like, teenagers and such, going down to Sterling, Mass, the
Yeah,
home of Mary Had a Little Lamb. But there's, if you go behind in the woods where that little square is for Mary, down in the back, there's a cemetery. But beyond that, you go through the woods more, there's a really old cemetery. And we would go in there and do grave rubbings all the time because they were
right.
the coolest headstones on the planet,
Yeah.
and very old. And we loved that.
Yeah, those old New England death heads, and like, see you see some of like, you can go out to cemeteries in Boston, and there's like skull and crossbones over
Yep.
on the headstones, and you're like, was they a pirate? Right? Like, no, he's not a pirate. That's how they rolled. And then they turned into like these batwing, things.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then over time, the funerary art starts to transform, and then they become like angelic cherubs, like sweet little
Yeah.
cherubs.
And then the urns and the things
Yeah,
and the,
and then
and all.
it's so the art was always evolving,
Yep.
depending on the times. But I miss the old skull and crossbones. I would like that on
I
mine.
love that. I know that's cool,
Yeah,
right? That is
or
cool.
or
You
the
know
or
what is
the death
another
head.
cool cemetery is up in Mount Cavalier Cemetery. It's up by like Niagara Falls
Okay,
area, and it has a little mini replica of actually Stonehenge there. And it's in its exact replica, just smaller. But it's in the middle of the cemetery. Why? I don't know.
right.
But it is. But the cemetery is neat because it has a big Italian section. And all of the graves all have pictures on them as well, like a little frame and their picture on it. And it is the coolest thing. But
That's
it's worth
cool.
going to. It's definitely worth going
Yeah, yeah,
to.
yeah. I think this there's such amazing places, right? These cities of the dead, right? That like we've built them, for our dead.
Yeah.
And I love the way we've chose to honor them, to be remembered, or whatever. And there's of course so many great stories, tied to
Yeah.
some of these cemeteries and
Yep.
haunts, which is it's always felt weird to me. Like, oh, it's a haunted cemetery. Either they're all haunted, and but nobody died there, right? That's just where your mortal
No,
remains
it's
are
just,
placed.
I know,
They're
it's just,
peaceful
yeah.
places. However, and this takes me back to the Ouija board story, takes me back to the Waverly Hills story. uh, when you're in a cemetery, you are thinking about your own mortality. You're suddenly aware, I am surrounded by hundreds, if not thousands, of dead bodies just below my feet. And I know this is my final destination. I'm coming here too. Maybe not this exact one, but one just like it, right? And
Yep.
that sort of opens that little bit of fear opens up our senses to stuff that's probably around us all the time. But in a place like a cemetery, we tune into it where we don't tune into it when we're grocery shopping. And so I think that's what it has more to do with. But also, like,
Uh, But
for me, like,
areas, I mean, just areas in general, like this area, right? Right down the street here, right across the street. I'm living in an over 100-year-old house, right?
right?
Loved it, had to have it. Okay. But it's like the Battle of Wyoming went right down here. I'm in 40 Fort. It was a fort. 40 people formed this fort, you know what I mean? And it's like there's so much history in every single area that it's just inundated with that, and our 44th cemetery and stuff. But they had the 72 flood here that I keep hearing about. And
Uh,
it wiped all the graves out, like all the caskets were up on
happens.
people's roofs and everything, and,
Yeah.
then it's like it took years and years, and they're still finding things. I think they still, like a couple of years ago, I think across the street from me, down the little knoll, there was a couple more graves, caskets, that they found. And they didn't have those tubes and stuff like they have now. So there wasn't really no way to identify who they were, So
Yeah.
imagine that, like, where's your loved one buried? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, that stuff happens. Or even better, when a cemetery gets moved and
Oh, yeah.
it's
Poltergeist.
poltergeist, right? So having worked on a bunch of stories now of moved cemeteries. um I remember watching that movie, Poltergeist, when I was a kid and with my dad, right? And I was like, "Dad, would that happen?" He goes, "No, it would never happen. They'd move it all." And then I can't tell you how many you know how often they just move the headstones? Like 99.99999% of the time, right? Unless someone paid dearly to have it fully excavated. It's insane. When you look at an old cemetery, this is what people sort of forget. Like, if you look at an old cemetery, if you see a headstone, there's a chance that person is below the headstone. It's totally possible. It's also possible they're 20 feet over there, right?
Right.
Because someone with a shovel dug down and might have hit ledge or a big rock, and then they move over, and they're
Yep.
still hitting it, and then they move over, and they're still hitting it, and they move over, and then
Yeah.
eventually, like, this is soft ground. We can go down a few feet, and they go down and they bury the body there. But the headstones have to look nice. You can't put willy nilly headstones everywhere.
Oh, no, of course not. Yeah.
So they're all in a nice row, but that doesn't mean the body is below the headstone. And so if you're going to move a cemetery, are you going to excavate down 10 feet the entire thing and meticulously put all this rotted wood together? Or you grab all the headstones and it's Miller time by 5 o'clock, right? Like, let's go, put in
Right.
your factory. Don't worry about it. And happens all the damn time.
Oh, yeah. Well, then
I
you
worked
gotta
on
think it too. How many freaking people have died in this area that were just thrown in the ground? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like before there were cemeteries, like in
Family
Vermont
plot.
and all
Yeah.
that, all
Yeah.
in their homesteads, and they have just a cemetery in the yard. You know what I mean? And then their markers just are gone. Eventually, they're gone. Unless it's a good stone, but they didn't really
Yeah.
have good stones in all of them. So how many bodies have there been houses built on that you don't even know about?
And by the way, here, let's just make everybody feel worse. So if you work in construction and you got your backhoe going down and you're digging down for the foundation and you crack open an old casket from like some family plot that wasn't marked and you find bones, what you're supposed to do is call the police,
Yeah,
right?
and
That's
then you
what you're
shut
supposed
down.
to do. But you know
Yeah.
what they don't do? they don't call the police because you will be shut down for days or weeks, maybe
Yep.
months, until
Yep.
the medical examiner comes and says, oh, this is a very old body, not a murder scene, and it's okay to remove the body and get it going. So what happens is construction guys are just like, just bury it.
Yep.
So yeah, just make this go away. Otherwise, our whole construction job is
Our
shut down.
foundation is going right here.
Yeah, just put the cement down. No one saw nothing. And it happens
right.
all the time because that's how the world works. And then
I
your house,
know.
then you're brand new. Oh, look at this new construction, flat screen TV and plasma. This is amazing. And it's haunted. Why? The building is literally 2 weeks old, this house. How can it be haunted? Because there's like 8 bodies beneath your foundation. Sorry about that.
And then go even further back, because how many massacres, honestly, did we wiping out the Indians so we can take over their land?
Yeah. Sure.
Did those bodies get buried? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, some and some didn't. And yeah, it's a funny world we live in, right? So we're all gonna die one day. We got to go somewhere. You got to put us somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah. What do you think of this? When you die and you can get put in like a burlap sack and get planted under a tree so that you're feeding a tree.
Have you heard of the mushroom sack?
No.
No. So Google this. Everybody Google this. It's a mushroom suit. They put your body in a mushroom suit, and the fungus literally devours you, and you just
and you keep feeding the mushrooms.
You become part of the soil. You know. There's one story I worked on. I adore this story. In Providence, Rhode Island. Rhode Island was founded by Roger Williams. You may have heard of Roger Williams Zoo, Roger Williams Park, Roger Williams College or University. He's the guy, and arguably Roger Williams is one of the
carousel there.
Yeah, he's also one of the founding fathers of the United States, truly, even though he died 100 years before. And the reason for that is that when Roger Williams first settled in Providence, he was the first to learn the language of the Narragansett. Like, he wrote the first English Narragansett dictionary. He made friends there, and he had radical ideas as a preacher. He had ideas like, we shouldn't take their land. We should work with them and negotiate for, how we can share this place. But his most radical, crazy idea was that there should be a separation of church and state, because he didn't want the government in the church and he didn't want the church in the government. He knew it was a bad idea either way. Radical, crazy idea. Makes no sense. So he sets up Rhode Island, and that's part of the charter. 100 years later, when they're drafting the initial documents for the United States, Rhode Island was holding out. Right. And then eventually they said, listen, mortician, you'll be out of work if we all go in mushroom suits. So you just talked yourself out of a job there, mister. So I know someone's still got to pick the body up. But anyway, so Roger Williams' ideas about separation of church and state, Rhode Island said, we need some of our ideas about freedom and stuff like that in these documents, or we won't sign up for the union. And they did. They incorporated his ideas. Okay. When Roger Williams died, he had lived to see Rhode Island get formed, get a charter, and then the King Philip's War. So many of his Narragansett friends and everybody else were wiped out. And by the time he died and was buried in a little family plot behind his house in Providence, his political cachet was more or less used up. 100 years later, he gets a huge shot in the arm because of America. So it's the 1850s, and they decide, look, Roger Williams is this great man. He shouldn't be in some little backyard plot. We need to dig him up and build a proper monument to this great, great man who's the founder of Rhode Island and arguably one of the founding fathers 100 years earlier. And so they know right where he's buried. There's this big apple tree, and there's these couple family graves, and they start digging down where Roger Williams should be. And they don't really find his body. They just find this greasy dirt, and they find these apple tree roots that had pretty much devoured his body.
Oh my God.
And then there was an article saying, oh my God, this apple tree ate Roger Williams. How many people have eaten the apples from this tree over the years and thus eaten Roger Williams? It doesn't end there, though. Gina, stay with me. So someone thinking quick from the Rhode Island Historical Society cuts the tree root, and it's like a stick with like a fork, almost looks like a torso and legs. They take the tree root and they take some of the greasy dirt and they say, we're keeping this. And the tree root today is on display at the Rhode Island Historical Commission's museum. at the John Brown House in Providence, and you can go in there, and it's literally in this little like casket display right in the lobby. And we went in there. We filmed for our PBS show. We filmed it and talked about the tree root that ate Roger Williams. You can literally see it. I've touched it. And then I said, I heard that like some of his remains were saved like in a jar or something. And they said, yeah, that's true. And I said, well, what happened to that jar? And the docent at the time said to me, she's like, well, it's in storage. And I'm like, I'm guessing storage is, I don't know, the basement of this building.
I
Where
know,
else could
right?
it
In the
be?
closet?
And,
What's
and
storage?
she goes, yeah, it's the basement. And I'm like, so let me just make sure I got this right. The mortal remains of Roger Williams are in a jar in a shoebox in your basement. And she's like, yes. And I was like, can we see it? And so for our cameras, they got it. They got the little jar out, and I held this little jar that said, this is the dirt that was Roger Williams, and it's got a date on it when they
Oh,
put it in the jar. And I'm just like, I'm holding one of the founding fathers of the United States, sort
wow.
of. And
You're
the
the
founder of
coolest
Rhode
guy in the world.
Island. It's like what a Rhode Island story. You know what I mean? Like,
Definitely. No, see, I went to the Roger Williams. I was on the merry-go-round and
yeah,
the
the park.
carousel and all
The
that
zoo.
kind of stuff. Yeah, did all that. I didn't know that. I would have gone there.
Well, so
Would
it's the historic museum, and it's the funny thing is like you got to ask, right? It's not like it's literally in the lobby because I walked in. I'm like, where's the tree root that ate Roger Williams? She's like, right behind you. Turn around. I'm like, oh, I don't know how I missed that. So anyway, but yeah, it's there, and you're just like, what a great freaking story.
Honest to God, there's so many in here. People, honest to God, it's so many in here. And again, it's gorgeous book. So very nice coffee table book too to keep out all the time. And just pick it up and read a story a day. You know, just pick one. He's got other books too. You know, so you know what I haven't done yet. And oh my God, we're almost at the end. I apologize. We have. This is your Instagram is at exploring
Yes,
legends. Okay,
legends. Yeah,
I was making sure I spelled that right. Facebook at Exploring Legends. YouTube at Legend Tripping.
that's me.
Yep. Oh, that was the banner. Okay, hide that one.
Isn't
And
StreamYard awesome?
and your photographer friend in this book here, Frank Grace.
Frank's amazing.
Yeah. So in the back of the book here, I think I put a picture up, but that's you too. And there's a nice little blurb about you and the nice little blurb about him. But this is all Frank's.
That's us at the fork in the road. Get it?
Yeah.
Did you look at the picture?
I did. And
That's the
actually,
fork
I
in the
have it.
road.
I have it. Put it on here. There it is.
There it is. The
There it
fork
is.
in the road. Get it?
Aha.
It's the fork in the road.
I get a giant cow up the street. You know,
Did
it's
it
like
give milk?
that's what we would do whenever like they were doing you know, wherever we would go, we always had this little app and you could do Americana things, you know,
Yeah.
and what's this place famous for. So like I think it was Rhode Island that had the big giant tin man. So we had to go find him. I think it was Rhode Island. I'm not sure. It's like in front of a factory or something. But everywhere we went, we had to find something, you know, like the big teapot
Yeah.
building and the, you know, so that I don't even know. I can't even remember all of them, but, you know, we just had to go find them and we did, you know.
Yeah.
But it was a neat little app and I can't remember the name of the app because that was on my iPhone, which I don't have anymore. But it was fun. Like we love
you got
doing
Amish.
kind of things. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have Amish.
Yeah,
Yes.
you stopped. You're just like, this is it. This is where I stop. What I love about all the, you know, like we covered roadside oddities, UFO stories, you know, haunts, cryptids, lake monsters, Bigfoot, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
What I love about these stories is they're like croutons in the salad. You know what I mean? They're like the little nuggets that we, you know, that we talk about, that we think about, we whisper about, but also they define us just as much as our regular history does. And it's fun, right? When you talk about these subjects, it allows you to ask the biggest questions humans have ever asked, right? When you talk about ghosts, you're saying, what happens after we die? When you talk about UFOs, you're asking, you know, are we alone in the universe? When you talk about cryptids, you're asking, do we know every creature that walks the earth with us? These are the big ones. and we get to have these discussions around these stories and ask for ourselves and wonder for ourselves. And that's the best part of it.
Yep. So if you click on this right here, that will take you right to his website.
It didn't work. I clicked on it.
Well, you need your phone and and do the code thing, the QR code or whatever they're called.
I need my magnifying glass.
Yeah. I want a picture of you with that, with the hat.
Callback.
Yeah. Love it. I love it. But all right, so we have 5 minutes left. Okay. You just put up something online that you were doing for Valentine's Day.
Oh, our freak formal. So I've been doing a charity ball very close to Valentine's Day. This year it happens to be on Valentine's Day. We always called it the zombie prom, but this year we're widening it a little bit and calling it the freak formal, because some people are like, I don't want to be a zombie. So you know what? You can be any monster you want. It's basically like a Halloween bash at Valentine's Day, and we do it for charity. This year the charity is Project Just Because, which is a 501c3 that helps families in need with food, with clothing, and even school supplies. So they service pretty much all of Massachusetts, and so all the proceeds go to them. But it's a great thing. It's in Milford, Massachusetts, at the DoubleTree Hotel. Tickets are $25, and again, it all goes to the charity. We don't even touch it. And we'll have raffles, and there's a bar, and there's food, and we've got DJs, we've got yard games, and it's always such a bash. Every year, like, people come dressed as all kinds of weird stuff, and it's the most un-Valentine's Day thing you can do, because I think, like a lot of adults, I hate the holiday. It's just too much pressure. So you can just go do something weird, whether you're alone or with somebody, you get off easy. So we're pretty excited about that.
That's awesome. Yeah, Penhurst does My Bloody Valentine. So a big event going on down there too. So that's fun. Yeah. But now, can they buy tickets at the door?
Yeah, you can buy tickets at the door. You can buy them on our newenglandlegends.com. You can get them there too, or through my website. But yeah, the ticket sales go directly to the charity, so we don't ever even touch the money.
That's beautiful. And we also didn't talk about Ghost Adventures. Quickly, how did that start? How did you find all these locations? Is this just like you living out your dream, like going, oh, I got the greatest locations ever. You got to go here, 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 here.
So back in 2008, what's that? Back in 2008, Dave Schrader, Zach called Dave Schrader and said, we need someone who knows haunts all over. And Dave's like, you want Jeff Belanger? He's got all these books about haunted places all over the world. It'd be great. And so Zach called me and said, hey, we're working on this show for the Travel Channel, just going to be 8 episodes. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I've done this for the web and for I've never worked in TV. Let's do that. And so it was finding the locations, finding people that have had experiences, and also the history and all that other stuff. So we did it, and it came out, and I thought, okay, cool, this is done. And then the Travel Channel is like, we got to hit, you got to get back to work. And so for the next 17 years, worked on that show and watched it grow into the phenomenon that it became. So eventually I didn't have to do the location scouting after the first, 5 or 6 years. We finally got people for that. And then I would be told where we're going. And then I got to dig in and look at all the history, because Zach wants to know, like, what happened where, what's the events that took place. So I give him the history, help find the people that are interviewed on camera, pre-interview them and things like that, so the producers are ready. And then they go there and do their interviews, know the history, and then investigate. And what happens after that. So it's been a really cool job for so long, 17 years.
Yep. Yeah, I was addicted to it when it first came out, and then I kind of got away from it. And then, I record them all the time. So, like, if I can watch them, I watch them. But Bob was on one. He was on one down in Florida. They flew him down to be the EVP.
Which one?
Expert. Scene something or other. Bob, you still there?
Then I would have talked to him, because I talked to everybody that's ever been on.
Yeah. He, God.
That's all right.
Yeah, you should know
they all blend together with me too. I mean, I've worked on 275 episodes.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
But, so they just flew him down for something. I don't think it was a lighthouse. What was it? I can't remember. But
it's a funny thing. Like when you work on, and like my podcast, right? My New England Legends podcast, we've done 430 episodes. It's 430 different stories, right? So
Right.
like the most important story I'm ever working on is the next one.
Yeah.
Whatever's next is the most
Right.
important one. And then you
Yeah.
tend to sort of forget the one you did 130 ago, you
Yeah.
know?
So I've been doing this for like 12 years. So do you think I remember everyone I talked to? No.
Yeah.
But I read every book that comes across my thing for,
Nice.
so I've learned it, but some of them are good, some of them not so good. This is flipping amazing. You are amazing. You were a hard man to pin down for this interview too, because how
I'm
many times
sorry. So
back and forth?
my fault. So I do a fall story tour. Like I literally did like 45 or 50 dates in the fall
Yeah.
where I'm gone every night, like doing stories in front of people. And so it's grueling and it's also a big part of my living. So and
Yeah.
it's just so exhausting. So the fall was hard. So thank you for getting me in February.
I thank you for actually coming on here. I mean, I've been a big fan, still am, will be forever. I think you're amazing, and I have got to say goodbye to everybody, but I want you to stay here for a minute, okay?
Thank you.
I got to get back to my media stuff over here, and okay, so
Sure.
we are going to say goodnight to all of you, and we hope you enjoyed the show. Please check out Jeff Belanger on all those websites and everything that we've put up there. This book is amazing. It's so much fun, and it's just, great little stories. He's an amazing man. And thank you again. And ciao for now, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D. We are here every Thursday evening from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, bringing you a variety of guests or our own intuitive oracle card reading shows. We are streaming live on Facebook on my personal page and our YouTube channel, The Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D, on Mama D's YouTube channel, Angel Meadows, as well as our audio-only venues. We hope you enjoyed our show and our guest or your reading, and we would love it if you would go to our YouTube channel, The Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D, subscribe, share, and definitely hit that notification button to never miss a show. We'll see you all next week, and subscribers, watch for our pop-up shows as well.